Good morning, and thank you for participating in today's webinar, Bring Your Data Alive in 2025 with Power BI. So a little about Forvis Mazars. Forvis Mazars is an independent member of Forvis Mazars Global, a leading global professional services network. Ranked among the largest public accounting firms in the U.S., our team members are dedicated to providing an unmatched client experience through the delivery of assurance, tax, and consulting services. As part of the firm's consulting services, Business Technology Services provides analysis, design, implementation, upgrade, training, and support services for accounting and ERP systems and sales and marketing CRM systems. Our end-to-end solutions can help clients achieve their digital transformation goals. At a glance, these are the technologies Business Technology Services supports. Today, we'll be focusing on Microsoft Power BI. And our presenter today is Charles Allen. Charles is a senior manager at Forvis Mazars and has more than 30 years of experience. In his experience, Charles has worked with a variety of industries and solutions. He implements, trains, and supports analytical, reporting, and planning solutions, including Solver, SQL Server reporting services, and Power BI. As a frequent contributor and speaker, Charles can be found on Forvis Mazars Foresights, LinkedIn, and at conferences such as Solver Ascend and Dynamics Communities. Again, thank you for participating in today's webinar. Quick housekeeping note before I turn it over to Charles. The live demonstration, which Charles is famous for, the functionality within our webinar platform today is not working. So Charles has lots of gems to share today in this presentation, but just know that the live demonstrations you may be looking forward to, the functionality is not working today. So we're going to do our best, and thank you for your understanding. So with that, I will turn it over to Charles.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everybody that's here. If you have any questions or want to see anything later, let me know, and we'll definitely maybe either try to redo this webinar again, or feel free to reach out to us and we will get you some demos that you can see. All right. Well, welcome to 2025, and we're going to talk about bringing your data alive in 25 with Power BI. And this is a really cool stuff that we're going to see on the slides here. And there's going to be 3 areas that we're going to focus on today. But our objectives are going to be to talk about insights, which is a feature in Power BI that enables you to have the system, Power BI, automatically look at your slide, your visuals, and your data, and give you some information about the data. And we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about how to get notifications about from your Power BI. And we're going to talk about AI and ad hoc reporting in Power BI. So let's go take a look and see what we have here. So this is our short agenda that we're going to discuss. All right. So first thing is we're going to look at this insights feature, which is pretty cool. And as I said, it's automatic. But as you know, we have some CPE questions. Let's see if we have one coming up, and we sure do. So the first question for you to answer, are you using Power BI? So we work with a lot of companies in various stages. Some are just starting and need training. Some are already doing it and need some assistance. And then, of course, some are just full bore writing Power BI reports. So Forvis Mazars has groups across the organization, across the enterprise, that provide Power BI services. So if your organization is just starting or needs assistance with reporting or data modeling and data engineering, we have people who can help you with that.
And while people lock in their answers, so again, with our functionality glitch today, I'm not sure if on the end user side today, if you see our promotional materials, but just know they're available to download on our website. And then also Charles has some great articles that we had featured. They will be included in the webinar archive link. So from embedding it in PowerPoint to how to create Power BI dashboards, we have those links that will be coming in the archive email. So thank you.
All right. So we have a very split response here. The majority are saying no, they're not using Power BI yet. So that's great. And it's great in the sense that you're starting from zero, and the world is going to be your oyster in that case. And almost the others, as many people have said, yes, they're already using it. So, and some people said, I'm not sure if we're using it or not. So, but yeah, great split. So let's talk about this insights feature. Hit the right button here. All right. Now, the first part to understand is it is part of Power BI Premium. Now, Power BI Premium is the kind of the next level up in licensing for Power BI. There is Power BI Pro, and then Power BI Premium, and then there's some additional things on top of that. But if we think about Power BI Pro versus Premium, of course, there are other differences between those products. Pro is $10 per user per month, and Premium is $20 per user per month. Those prices I read the other day are going to be going up slightly. Those prices have been in place for many, many years. So I think Microsoft is about to raise them a little bit just to make a little bit more money. That you think about what that statement means, but nevertheless, the prices are going to go up a little bit. But today, if you were to go subscribe, it's $20. And there is a website, of course, Microsoft Power BI website. It's going to be able to tell you all the differences between Power BI Premium and Pro, so you can decide if it's worth it to upgrade to Power BI Premium. So in this case, we are going to talk about Power BI Premium, a feature called Insights. And you'll notice the second item, it says it's preview mode. Now, anybody that's using Power BI today knows that there are a lot of functionality. There is a lot of functionality that Microsoft puts into Power BI, which is in preview mode. And then eventually they either may get rid of it if it's something that people don't use or it doesn't work, or they make it part of the product. And so this is one of those items that is in preview mode and has to be enabled. Okay. But definitely can be, and it works just fine as far as I've seen. And then it can work on either an entire page or an individual visualization. So if you think about a Power BI report where you've got several items on a page, you can either get insights on a specific visualization, like a particular bar chart or pie chart or something like that, or you can just say, hey, for this entire page, go ahead and search and give me some insights. I keep hitting the wrong button. So let's talk about these items here, what they mean. So we've got, as you can see, 10 different types of insights that Power BI can provide. Okay, and what those mean are, the first one is category outliers. Well, you probably, just by the name, understand what that means. But basically what it does is it tells you if there are situations where one or two categories have much larger values than the other categories or the other values, okay? So if everything is going around at 10 and 12 and 14 and 16, and then all of a sudden goes up to 30, then that would be an outlier. And it's going to give you that insight. The next thing is change points in a time series. So what is a time series? Well, a time series is when you're looking at data over time, right? You want to look at things by month or by year or by day. So a time series. So what that's doing is it's going to tell you if there are significant changes in your trend. Again, what we were kind of talking about with the category. So if you imagine a line chart and think about an EKG, right? It's going along very nicely, and then all of a sudden, boop, it goes up or it goes down. You definitely want to know about that, right? So this is where that change point in the time series comes in. Okay. All right, the next one is correlation. These are a lot of terms you probably don't think about every day, but they are part of insights. So correlation is going to tell you when multiple measures show a similar pattern or trend. Okay, so it's going to let you know if there is a correlation between items, right? Are we selling more gloves in the winter than we do in the summer, right? There's a correlation there. And so it's going to tell you that here in Houston, Texas, where we just had a couple days of really cold weather, we'll probably see a correlation between pipe wrapping tape and things like that versus in the middle of August when we don't need pipe wrapping tape. Okay. Low variance. So low variance is going to tell you where data points for a dimension. Now, we'll talk about what a dimension is. But a low variance is going to detect cases where the data points for dimension aren't far from the mean. The mean meaning kind of the average, right? And there are different kinds of averages, but the mean average in this case. So the variance is low. So for example, a dimension is one of those tables that's got the master data for your system. So think of customers, items, products, dates, things like that. Those are dimensions. And then your fact table is the data that is storing all of that activity that you're trying to measure. Okay, so you have dimensions, you have fact table. So going back to what the low variance is, it's going to tell you where the data points for a dimension aren't far from the mean. So it's going to tell you, hey, as you go along, these items are kind of straddling that line because there's not much of a bump either way between those. Okay. And let's talk about majority, major factors. So the majority is going to tell you where most of a total value can be attributed to a single factor when broken down by another dimension. So if you think about the data that you have and you have a total amount, but you've got various dimensional data, and it's saying, hey, by the way, this data can really be attributed to a particular dimension, right? So maybe it's, you think of customer location, you think of item type, you think of other types of things, maybe the season, and it's saying the majority of this number can be attributed to a particular item, okay? Which is good because that way you can drill down on that and you can see what's going on. Outliers, you kind of get the idea. We talked about category outliers up above, but outliers uses what's called a clustering model. So it's a bunch of points on the slide, and it's going to find outliers that are not related to time. Okay, so maybe there's something that people are always buying, like batteries. So maybe they buy batteries more at some points than others, but people may buy batteries no matter what. And so you want to be able to see, hey, these things are not dependent upon our trends. Okay. And they're going to happen all the time. And then we have overall trends and time series. So what that is going to do is going to tell you if there's an upward or a downward trend in time. Okay, kind of what you think it might say. So as you're looking at your data, and you can see, if you think about, let's say, a stock price chart, and you hope it's going up, 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 but sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up. And so this is going to tell you, is there an upward or a downward trend in that stock price, for example? Okay. Seasonality. We talked about that as far as buying tape wrap or pipe wrapping tape and things like that. So if I'm a store, or if I'm trying to sell things or provide services to people, I want to know, is there seasonality in my time? And if I'm looking at, let's say, pipe repair services, which is very big here in Houston after a big freeze, then I want to be able to see, hey, I would expect to see, I should say, that there is some seasonality in that. Okay, probably not as much in September, but I'm probably going to see it in January and February. Steady share. That's going to tell you where there is a parent-child correlation between items. So it's going to let you see, as I have a parent item, maybe let's say customers or customer categories, and then a child of that, a particular child within that. It's going to let me see if that is a steady trend in my data. So it's looking for steadiness in that data. Okay. And then time series outliers. This is, again, another outlier. So again, we're all familiar with what outliers is, and they're all kind of related to time. But this is going to tell you when there are values that are significantly different than the other date time. So there's definitely some similarity between time series and outliers and category outliers, but that's what time series is. It's going to let you know when there are specific dates or times with values significantly different than others. Okay. All right. Yes, and we have, so Sarah has information about a case study.
Yeah, so quickly, we've had a few people chime in. So we did have to change the layout today. Within our webinar platform, the live demo, the share screen functionality is not working today. So if you are not seeing the slides, please refresh your browser, and then you should see us and the slides. But back to that case study. So I was on a Microsoft Learn session yesterday about autonomous ERP, and it was talking about, advances in Power BI and Copilot. And so a case study that they shared was that Domino's identified a correlation with Power BI and the Copilot technology, a correlation between increased sales and rainy days. So the more, if it was going to be a lot of rain, a couple of rainy days in the forecast, they, through their ERP system and Copilot and Power BI, they identified this trend that they need to stock up on more fresh ingredients because sales will increase on these rainy days. So I just thought that was a cool, timely case story to share.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I can imagine, here in Houston, where we don't get snow very often, and certainly along the whole Gulf Coast, there's going to be a lot of interesting bits of data that appear out of stores that you normally don't associate with the Deep South or the Gulf Coast. All right. Okay, so that is those are the different types of insights that Power BI can do. So how does it work? Well, it has different pieces of the puzzle. So we talked a little bit ago about dimensions, and fact tables. But let's talk about these other items and what they do and how they are used by insights. So measures. Let's talk about what a measure is. Now, imagine you have a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet, you have a list of sales transactions. And one of those columns is the sales price. Okay? And another column is the quantity. And you may even have an extended price in there. All right. Now, the key, excuse me, the key with insights is it doesn't just use the data from your list of transactions. It uses measures. And a measure is a calculation of your data. And we have a webinar from a couple of years ago, and we've talked about measures and other situations. So if you'd like more information about what a measure is or why you should use measures when you build Power BI reports, by all means, send them to us. But briefly, what a measure does is it calculates data. And if you want it to, it can calculate it in a way that that is going to change the data based on the filters that you provide. And so if I create a measure that called, let's say, gross profit, maybe I have the cost and the price in my data, but I don't have gross profit and I want to measure that. So I create a measure called gross profit or gross margin. And I can then use that measure no matter what filters I put on my data. And so if I say, hey, I want to show it by customer, or I want to show it by product or by state or whatever, that measure is going to calculate and show us the information based on the filters that you're using and how you're slicing it. But you need measures to use insights. Dimensions we talked about as well. Dimensions are going to have all that master data information. Correlation. Correlation is going to tell us how things relate to each other, right? If their patterns of increase and decrease are similar, then that means they're positively correlated. If the patterns are opposite, like you say red, I say green or something, that those may not be opposite, but if they do, then those are negatively correlated. So if every time I go up, you go down, that's a negative correlation. All right. Time series. Time series is looking at data across time. That's basically what it means. And then a continuous variable can be any value between minimum and maximum. So if you think about sales, maybe my minimum is 0, but maybe it's more likely that it's not 0. Hopefully it's not, because that means we may go out of business. So it probably is a higher minimum, and then you have a maximum. So a continuous variable is the data in between the minimum and the maximum. And so, for example, total number of blue skateboards sold is a variable because we can't sell half of a skateboard, at least not very effectively. Other examples of variables are temperature, weight, age, time, and then some of them can include fractions or portions, but some of them can't. So it just depends on what the variable is. But basically, it's a value between its minimum and maximum limits. Otherwise, it's called a discrete variable. Okay. So let's take a look now at what Insights does. Now, this is from Power BI Desktop. When you build a report in Desktop and you go to publish it into the Power BI tenant, you'll notice that it's going to give you what you see in the middle there. It says, open the report. So you can go open that report immediately in the Power BI tenant. And notice, get quick insights right there. So if I am and yes, Nicholas. So Nicholas asked, while I take a break to answer his question, Nicholas says, are these tools available with a personal subscription rather than a company? So it comes down to the user and what that user subscription. So right now I have a subscription that's outside of my company, Nicholas, and it's just for me. I'm the only one that's using it. Okay. So hopefully that helps. If you don't see it though, let me know, Nicholas, and we can help you out. But anyway, if we hit quick insights, it's going to open up insights. Let's go to that next slide. And here we go. So here are quick insights that Power BI created based on data in my data model. Okay, so we go back here. Look at all these beautiful items that Power BI automatically created for us. Okay, and so you can see we've got things about, can't even read them here. Let's see, get my glasses going here. So you've got items such as count of description, like how many items are being sold, average of unit price, the count of dimension of products, the count of city and average of its netted price, and so on. So you've got various items that it's including in this quick insights. Now that's if you use quick insights. Let's go to the next slide. If you are in the Power BI tenant, and if you go to the option that says insights, then you're going to get something like you see on the right. It's going to show you the insights there. And so that's going to give you information like anomalies and trends in this example. So it's telling us, for example, I had a recent anomaly in revenue budget. And it's saying the most recent anomaly was on Saturday, January 30th, 2021, and until when the value was whatever it was. And then trends, it says revenue actuals started trending up on Sunday, May 30th, 2021, going up 147% in less than 4 months. So those are good trends. And, you know, in the old days, you would have these reports and you would put them together, and then you would, of course, spend time poring over these results. That's what analytics is all about. But what Power BI is doing with this functionality is giving you the ability or to get that information automatically, right? It's kind of scary because now you have a machine that's doing, like in a snap, what people would spend hours and hours trying to figure out. Okay, but that's what it's doing. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about next question here. Insights will tell you about anomalies in the data. Hopefully everybody gets 100 on this one.
I'm like, can I just give people the answer?
No, we have to guess. I have to get the right answer based on the information ahead of time.
So Charles, in your experience, what are some of the interesting anomalies you've seen?
Oh boy. Well, I think, revenue is one. I think if you look at stuff like, especially just to give you a real life case right now, like we've kind of harped on a little bit, is if I'm working at Walmart or Home Depot in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I see that sales of faucet covers and stuff like that have skyrocketed, then that's going to be an anomaly right there. And so if I'm looking at a time series showing my sales, and then all of a sudden I see boop on January 21st, all of a sudden it goes way up in certain areas, and then I can start drilling down and seeing why that is. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
All right, so 88.8% of you said yes, so that's the right answer. All right, so let's talk about notifications. All right, so you want to stay on top. You want to keep that data right in front of you, right? And you don't want to have to go and search for data. You don't want to have to log in. You just want to get information, right? That's why you have these great phones that we spend $1,400 or $2,000 to keep, and smartwatches. Just imagine if you had a Power BI dashboard and all of a sudden on this fancy smartwatch you have, you get an email saying, hey, by the way, your sales just went up like 300% yesterday, or your inventory of something went way down. Then that would be kind of useful. It gives you the justification to get a watch or something like that. But alerts in Power BI are going to give you that ability to do that. So let's take a look at what this means. All right, so how do I subscribe to a report? Now, this is assuming you're using the Power BI tenant. All right, now this is not necessarily a premium feature here. That was the insight side. So here we're just talking about subscribing to reports. So first thing you do is if you're in the Power BI tenant, you can subscribe to the report. And you can subscribe as, like I can subscribe and have a report sent to other people, or you can subscribe for yourself. So you select subscribe from the toolbar, create a subscription and give it a name, and create as many subscriptions as you want. And then you can, you can select a type. There are two types. There's standard and there's dynamic per recipient. Now, standard is just saying, hey, I want to get a subscription. I want to get an email for this report on, let's say, a daily basis. Okay, and then dynamic per recipient, down below it says you select the fields. So basically, let's say that I've got a report and I've got salespeople, and I want the report to send the results to Sarah. I want to send the results to Charles. I want to send the results to Nicholas, and so on, based on the data in the report. Okay. So that's dynamic. And so if I have, let's say, the email addresses of my salespeople in the report or in the data, then I can use that email address when I'm setting up my subscription. Okay? And then you can set the schedule for how often it's going to occur. All right. Now, here is an example of what that looks like. And hopefully you've got a big screen you can see that on. But basically what you've got there is you've got a subscription at the top. And I'm going to pull it up here so I can see it and talk about it. All right. So at the very top, you've got the subscription. And you do have a manage all option, so you can manage all your subscriptions. Then you've got a subscription name. And just call it whatever you want to. Call it daily sales or something like that. And then the recipient. So as I said, you can subscribe for other people when you do this. Now, the next option is attach a full report. So you can actually have it send a report to those people. So you have to decide, are you trying to push data out to people so they don't have to log in and go view it themselves? Or do you want to let them know there's information and then have them come in to Power BI? Well, some of that may be based on the urgency of the situation, who the person is. A lot of people just want to be notified. And let's say I'm an inventory manager, and all of a sudden my inventory is running low on something, and I'm out having lunch or maybe even on vacation, God forbid, and all of a sudden I get a notification that something's going on, and I just get it on my phone. Well, I don't want to have to log in necessarily. I just want to get that information. So that would be a good example of when you want the report sent to you. Excuse me. However, if you do want it to just go ahead and log in, which you can certainly do anyway, you don't need to attach a full report. Now, I will tell you, for those who don't know, Power BI does have a really good app that you can put on your phones and tablets. So, of course, it helps have a large phone to be able to read it well. But if you do have a phone, you can install the Power BI app and you can view all the reports that are on your Power BI tenant. Okay? So that way, if you don't get a report sent to you, you can still go to the Power BI app and go view it at that point. All right, now you can then tell it the schedule. When do you want to get that report? And how often do you want to get it? Do you want to get it just daily? Do you want to get it throughout the day or less frequently? And then, of course, you can set your options for your time zone. And then there are even some more options that you can set. So there's a lot of things that you can do. There are a lot of things that you can do in this subscription for a report. So you can send it to yourself. You can send it to other people. This is a standard report. And notice I say standard because there's nothing dynamic about it except for the date. So basically all you're saying is, send me this report. So I'll give you an example. Many years ago, using SQL Server reporting services, a client wanted to send a weekly report to the salespeople. Okay, so great. What we had to do, we had to create a separate report for every salesperson just for their data, and then subscribe each report to each salesperson. Well, that was a pain. Fortunately, they didn't have that many people, but it was still a pain. So imagine this way, you got a report, you can just send it to a bunch of people at the same time, okay? Very easily. Now, the next thing is a dynamic version. So what the dynamic one says is, well, I don't want to send the whole report to everybody, right? I want to send Charles' sales to him and Sarah's sales to her. So you can use a dynamic subscription and then say, hey, based on the salesperson, send it just to that person, okay? So that is an example of when you might use that functionality, dynamic versus standard. Okay. All right. So as we say, use when the report data should be different per person. It uses data from the report. And as I say, weekly sales per salesperson. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at a poll question here.
Yes, polling question number 3. Subscriptions can use email addresses for recipients. And I will not tell you the answer, but I'm hoping for more than 88.8% correct on this one. Our CRM team too, more and more that the app, especially on tablets, has really come into play for anybody out in the field, right? So we have an ERP product that we support that's specific to like the construction industry. And then on our CRM side, we do a lot with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Field Service, which is a CRM application, and that the tablet Power BI app has been really useful. And Nicholas, yes, we will. This presentation is available to, it should, so sorry if you have to refresh your browser again, but we actually have some webinar platform technology people troubleshooting in the background. So if you refresh your browser, all of those lovely links should be active. It's also available to download on our website, and look for the archive email. We'll have everything in there as well too.
All right. And we have a question from Kenneth who says, when on Power BI server, what's the difference between, oops, it just went away. What's the difference between Get Insights, Q&A, or the Copilot function? So very good question. This option here, this Insights option, is letting the system analyze the data and return results to you. Okay, so it's letting the system drive. The Q&A is another feature where you can ask questions of the data. and it's going to, based on how you ask the questions, it's going to give you a result. So in one case, you're saying, hey, system, tell me about my data. But you're not even asking a question. You're just saying, boom, go do it. Go get me some insights. The second one, you are asking specific questions. What were my sales of pipe insulation tape in 2024? Okay, that's a question. And you can just Q&A yourself forever with that Q&A feature. Now, the Copilot is then taking it more on the insight side, because now we're really getting into AI, and it's going to allow you to take advantage of Microsoft Copilot, which is now doing more and more with Power BI. For example, you can use it to help you write DAX code that's used in Power BI to write those measures we mentioned earlier, and also to get information about the data that you have in Power BI. But today we're focused so far on the insights, which is the ability to have the system just analyze everything and come back with answers. All right, now, another area is alerts. So as opposed to an email that goes out on a schedule, an alert is what you think it is. It's a message based on your data. And it's available in the Power BI service and mobile apps, but not all visualizations can be used. Okay. Trying to get to my slide here. All right. Let me get to that real quick. All right. So here's what you do. Select the set alert button. You have to enunciate your words. Select a visualization that you want to be the basis of your alert. Select the measure. So we talked about measures earlier. It's not just saying pick a numeric field. It's saying select a measure. So it's very important for you to have measures in your data, in your data model. Select the operator, and then choose how to be notified. And the operator is like greater than, less than, stuff like that. Unfortunately, the demo part to that is not available today. Let's go back one slide here. So again, we're talking about how to be notified, and I don't think I have. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have it open, in fact. But basically, as I said, the operator, you're saying, okay, I want to look at sales revenue, but how do I want to look at it? Do I want to look at it where it's greater than 0? Or maybe if you think about inventory, we mentioned earlier, you might say where the inventory level is less than 10, right? Because I have to order things in quantities of 20, and I need to make sure I get it ordered, okay? And you can also look at stuff, multiple ways. You might say where I've got, I want to be able to say, I need to know when my inventory is going low, but I need to know what my order count is and what my sales demand is. Because if I'm not selling any, why do I care if it goes below 10? Okay, I'll order it when I get around to it. All right, so let's go on to the next one. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, today in 1957 is when Frisbees were first introduced. How about that? All right. Now, ad hoc reporting. This is a pretty cool feature. What it allows you to do as a regular old user, not a Power BI report guru, is you can create your own visualization. So, in every situation, there are people who build these beautiful reports. They look wonderful. They're very useful. But there's always a situation when somebody needs something else. And Do you need to go back to the report person to have that person build a report? Or do you want to just do it yourself? Okay, so it's kind of do it yourself, self-service. So with ad hoc reporting, what you can do is you can select an option from the toolbar called Explore. Then all you do is you select the fields, you add filters, you tell it what kind of visualization you want, and then if you want, you can even save the report yourself and have it part of your reports. So let's take a look here. This is an example of one. So you can see on the left, you've got your list of fields. You'll see dimension, and normally you don't see the word dimension, but in the data model that I built, that's what we have. And then we have the module. So all you're doing is you're picking the fields that you want. And then as you pick the fields, you get a or kind of a split screen. The top screen is the data, and then the bottom is a chart. And you'll notice on the bottom where it says visual, there are some options. You can do bar charts, you can do just column charts and other types of charts based on the data. Okay, so you can put in filters, you can do all sorts of great things. Once you're done with this, then you can save it if you want to. There's a save button at the top right. Okay, and then have that report available all the time. So pretty cool. So it allows the users to excuse me, to perform self-service. Okay, really nice. And let's see if we have anything else about that. Not a whole lot. All right, so that's ad hoc reporting. So we talked about today insights and subscriptions and alerts and ad hoc reporting. Now, ad hoc reporting is fairly simple. I mean, what you see is what you get. So if you need something more fancy than that, that's where you go to the report designers or the report authors and have them build a report for you, okay? And make that as part of the data. Also, one thing that's important to note is there is a difference between, excuse me, between a dashboard and a report. So we think of the word dashboard when we just see a bunch of visualizations on a page. But in Power BI world, a dashboard is really a selection of visualizations from reports. Okay, so you might have multiple pages of a report, and on each page you have several visualizations. And so you might say, all right, I want a dashboard that just takes the data. I want this visualization from this page and this visualization from that page, and then just call it the quick at a glance dashboard. So then you can either subscribe to a dashboard and go view that dashboard, or you can subscribe to individual reports in your Power BI report. Okay, so again, reports and then dashboard. Just like in a car, you have your dashboard, but you know that there's a lot more going on than just what you see on your dashboard. Okay. All right. So insights, subscriptions, ad hoc reporting. All right. Let's go to the next page. Now, we won't get an answer to this one immediately, but hopefully everybody says yes. Now, if you say yes, why are you saying yes? Well, you're saying yes because you want Orbis Bazaars to reach out to you and talk to you about what you need as far as Power BI. Okay? So if you're just getting started, you need training, you need help creating reports, that's what Orbis Bazaars can do. Okay? And either myself or colleagues of mine can help you at various stages of your Power BI journey. Okay.
All right. Love it. Yes. And please take this opportunity because if you've attended one of Charles's webinars before, you know how great he is at live demonstrations. So if you need help walking through a report design idea or how to maybe best practices for visualizations or alerts, please mark yes. and we will reach out, and then we will have that discussion to figure out, what your business needs are. So again, we really appreciate you. And Charles, thank you. Thank you for being so flexible today and presenting such great information today without the live demos. So I really appreciate everyone's time today. Stay tuned for the archive email and the related helpful links and archives. And we look forward to talking with you again and seeing you on another webinar. So with that, thank you very much.